Hello, welcome back to the JC Pod. I'm your host, Jane Chandler Parnell. Hey, man, we had another weekend of football. Can't believe week 8 already happened. Week 9 for college. Some crazy upsets in college. Some wild games in the NFL. I wouldn't say some crazy upsets, but there's still some pretty big upsets in the NFL as well. It was a really wild weekend. So pretty much today, all we're going to do is just pretty much react to everything that happened this weekend sports-wise. I'll try to give a quick update on like some MLB and NBA action happening at the end. But yeah, the first, oh yeah, by the way, happy Halloween, man. By the way, happy Halloween to all the people out there. Spooky episode. No, basically we'll just hop straight in. I don't want to dilly-dally too much. So pretty much all we're going to talk about, like I said today, just go for the NFL, kind of talk about what happened there, talk about some quick, or I guess not quick, but talk about some college action, just kind of talk about what happened in that. Some big storylines, all that. I'll try to touch on the Michigan thing. I've been waiting for like 2 or 3 weeks to get some more information on it. And yeah, it sounds like they actually did some stuff, so I'm glad I waited, because originally I wasn't going to say much on it. But now I waited. It seems like they actually did some stuff, so I'll try to touch on that at the end. But yeah, without any further ado, let's hop right in. So we'll go to the NFL. Oh, wow. Before we do that, big news out of the NBA. James Harden, 7-player trade. He's going to the Clippers. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I didn't think that they would actually do it this quick. This is a big trade. This is crazy how many teams Harden's been on now. But yeah, 76ers agreed to trade a 10-time All-Star along with P.J. Tucker, Philip Perstrusive to Clippers for Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, Kenyon Martin Jr., and a 2028 unprotected first. Wow, that is wild. I can't wait for I'm actually very excited to hear all the NBA people talk about that, because I am not the biggest NBA person, so I'm very curious about how the NBA world reacts to that, because I think that's not a horrible trade, but I could be wrong. Also, shout out Devontae Adams. He might be on the move today after yesterday. That was... Poor Devontae Adams, man. My goodness. Actually, I guess we could start on that game, huh, since I'm talking about it. Where is this at? Sorry, I wanted to get the score. Lions win 26-14. Biggest story of the game. Jimmy G missed a few deep balls. The biggest one he missed was Devontae Adams at the end. Devontae Adams was wide open on a blitz. There was like 2 or 3 where he missed, where Devontae Adams he could still be running today even to score a touchdown, but Jimmy G just missed him pretty much, because that's what Jimmy G does. I mean, I feel like I've seen it in his career now, to the point where he misses at least 2 big deep balls every single game that go for touchdowns. I mean, it's insane. It's every single game. You see there's at least one where it's like the wide receiver is wide open. He could run for a lot of space, and Jimmy G just slightly overthrows him. I know that a lot of quarterbacks do that. I'm not saying it's only Jimmy G. It just feels like, man, he always has the big ones, huh? But yeah, Devontae Adams finished with like 1 catch last night. The Lions couldn't just finish in the red zone. That was the big issue. They had to settle for field goals at least 3 or 4 times, similar to like how the Ravens did it last week or 2 weeks ago when they were playing the Titans, where they literally, like, this was a very, very similar game where they would just get to the red zone. For whatever reason, they couldn't punch it through, kick a field goal. So shout out to the Raiders defense for that. They were able to hold them good. Raiders actually scored the first touchdown of the game. I won't lie, it's pretty frustrating. Bet Sam Laporta to score first touchdown, plus 1,000. I didn't expect it to hit, but it would have been really nice. Instead, Josh Jacobs scores the first touchdown. Then 2.5 minutes later, Sam Laporta scores a touchdown. It's like, oh, of course. Shout out Sam Laporta, though. We hit another nasty boy. Another nasty boy parlay on the board. Shout out Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs. Man, Jahmyr Gibbs had a day, man. This guy is truly going to be special. 26 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. Sam Laporta, 8 receptions on 10 targets for 57 and a touchdown. I mean, this Lions team, I know it's the Raiders defense, so I'm not going to overreact too much, but I mean, Max Crosby imposed his will early on. They were able finally to get him, like, kind of deal with him pretty much, to where once they started dealing with him, all of a sudden everything else became a lot simpler. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, I was really impressed by the Lions' run game. Even then, because they had 3 offensive linemen missing, I believe. Could be wrong. It could end up being only 2, but it sounded like 2 were for sure out. 1 was going to be a borderline out. I don't remember if he was fully out or not. I got home pretty late before the game started, so I didn't get to check that. But shout out to the Lions, man. Big win on Monday night. They won 26-14. Big win. Jahmyr Gibbs looks awesome. Sam Laporta continues to do good. Goff had a pick 6. That's pretty much About the only bad the Lions did was that golf pick six. Because you take away the pick six, I mean, the Raiders basically didn't score. And yeah, Jimmy G, 10 for 21, 126, one interception. The biggest thing out of this loss now, I'm very curious what the Raiders do at the deadline. I could see them potentially being sellers. I don't know what it's going to be for the Lions. I don't know if they're going to be potentially buyers, but man, Devontae Adams having one catch. I mean, it's crazy when the backups come in and they throw it to the guy better than the starter does. Like, I understand, like, Jimmy G doesn't want to throw it up in triple coverage every single time, but there's one, I mean, threw it in double coverage, completely just didn't see the safety and lollipopped it to him for an interception. And the next one, he just completely hard overthrows. It's like, man, if you lollipop, like, he basically flips it. If he lollipops the late ball to Devontae Adams, it's probably caught for a touchdown. If he throws it out the back of the end zone instead of giving up an interception, the Raiders probably score another touchdown. But you can't play the game of if or buts in the NFL. If you're able to do that, every team would be undefeated, obviously. So, really interesting, just to say the least, with the Raiders and Jimmy G. We're going to see what happens with their season. For my hot seat coach of the week, we'll get to it in a minute. I don't know if it's going to be... I don't know if it's going to be McDaniels this week. It might be somebody else. You'll have to wait and see. We'll go next to the... I guess we'll start on the top of the list with the Thursday night game. Buffalo, they won 24-18. I'll go over this game briefly because it feels like this happened ages ago. Shout out Mike Evans. He scored another touchdown very, very late for the late cover. We almost won another nasty boy with Mike Evans on that Thursday if he was just able to get a few more yards. Just missed out. But shout out Baker. He made my night very beautiful that night. Was able to cover late with a late touchdown. But the Bills, man, they didn't look the worst, but they definitely started to get a little bit back on track. They just need to finish better drives. It looks like there were some drives where they just couldn't finish for whatever reason. They need to improve on that a little bit. But, I mean, other than that, for having some guys out, the Bills played honestly pretty impressive. They were at 24-10 for the longest time. They just needed to put one more touchdown in to probably put it away, and they weren't able to. If they score one more touchdown, I mean, I don't know if anything else really happens with the Bucs. It took a Bucs. They had a late drive that was like 16 plays or something like that, like 6-7 minutes at the very end of the game when they scored the touchdown with Mike Evans. I mean, it took them the whole, pretty much like end of the game to get that last drive touchdown. So that's pretty much all that came from that game. Is the Bills looked not bad. The Bucs kind of looked meh. And I mean, they played in Buffalo, so that game was kind of understandable. But truthfully, there's not too much to take away. From this game. I mean, it's basically what we expect. Bills win. They just didn't cover, which is they still win by almost over a touchdown. So I mean, that's all that matters really. And they also signed Leonard Fournette, which is really weird. I figured they would just want to use James Cook more, but maybe Leonard Fournette will play this Devin Singletary role, or maybe he'll just be the goal line back. Very, very interesting. But congrats to Leonard Fournette for signing with the Bills. I think that's not a bad signing at all. I think it's a pretty good signing for him. I just don't get it from the Bills side, truly. I just don't know if they don't like what they see in James Cook, if they don't like what they see in Latavius Murray, if they just want more depth. I don't know why they did it, but not a horrible move at all. Quickly, we'll go over, remember, like I told you last week, I spent probably 45 minutes, it felt like, talking on the NFL. I'll try to burn through some of the bad games quicker so I can spend more time on the better games. So this is a considerable bad game. Cowboys win 43-20. I mean, this was out of contention. Beyond early. Cowboys scored the first touchdown to Jake Ferguson. Scored first touchdown to Jake Ferguson. Rams get a field goal, and then it was all all Dallas after that. Dallas field goal, Dallas pick six, Dallas safety, Dallas passing touchdown, Dallas passing touchdown. Then the Rams finally scored a touchdown to end the first half, but at that point, it is blowout city. It was like 33-9 by that point. I mean, it was absolutely over. CeeDee Lamb scored. I think CeeDee Lamb had 3 touchdowns on the day. Shout out to CeeDee. No, he only had 2. Sorry, 2 touchdown day for CeeDee. There's a hell of 2 touchdown scores last week. Last week was the 2 touchdown galore. So if you prop bettors, hopefully somebody got a 2-time touchdown score last week. I did not, but there were so many last week. But yeah, basically not much to talk about this game. Hurt UCL for Matt Stafford. He's day-to-day. Their quarterback situation seems iffy since Stetson Bennett's out. I forget what happened to Stetson Bennett. I meant to look it up yesterday. I forgot to do it. I don't know what he got in trouble for, but he's away from the team for some reason. It just sucks because it would have been nice to see what he could have done at the NFL level right now, but of course he's just out for whatever reason. I have to look it up. I don't want to say it's from alcohol or something like that, but he's on the non-football injury list, I believe. That was the last time I remember seeing something. I could be wrong. He could be hurt at this point, but I thought he's on the non-football injury list. We'll have to see. But But yeah, shout out to the Cowboys, man. I mean, the Cowboys. My biggest takeaway from this game, actually, for the Cowboys is the Cowboys are who I thought they were this season, pretty much. Where if the Cowboys can get a lead and play from a lead, they're going to win the game. If they get behind, the farther they are behind, the worse it gets for them. They're a team that's not built. Basically, from what I learned from this game, they're a team that's not built to play from behind. Because, I mean, you see it. Like these games that they're winning, sometimes they're winning big, like 43-20 against the Rams. 2017 against the Chargers, they won a close one there. Prove me wrong. Patriots 38-3, but they lost to the 49ers. Lost 42-10. The Cardinals. They were down for the Cardinals the whole game and just couldn't get that spark going to get past. I mean, that's going to be their biggest hump. Are they able to go on the road, say like for the Bay, they're going to go on the road to San Francisco. San Francisco scores an early touchdown, maybe an early field goal. They're down 10-0. Can they come back from that? I personally don't think they can at this point. Like, unless it's a one-touchdown deficit, and even then it's kind of iffy. Like, it has to be tied or field goal, I think, because if they start getting down touchdown deficit or worse, I just don't know what I see from them. Poop Bowl, we don't need to talk about this too much. Saints were improved to 4-4. I mean, they looked like they had an offense against the Colts defense, which is basically all that needed to tell me about the Colts season. I think the Colts season's probably over. I think they can still have a somewhat decent season. It's just if they make the playoffs, I'm not expecting them to do much of anything. Grover Stewart being out because of PEDs is killing them. Having no DBs is absolutely killing them. I mean, I think for the Colts, I've seen a different DB group every single game. One game was Juju Brents. Another week is this guy, Tony Brown. I could have said his name wrong. I've seen 40, 22, 28, 36. It feels like I've seen 8 different numbers at the DB position. Just crazy. They had Stephon Gilmore and Gambling Boy. I can't remember his name now. But Isaiah Rodgers, I think it was. It wasn't bad. And Dallas Flowers. I mean, I know a lot of the more casual NFL fans might not know a lot of those names, but those 3 were not actually too horrible. They were actually started something in with Juju Brents. There was potential, but now the Colts DB room is absolutely destroyed. Congrats to the Saints, though. They actually got a good win on the board. That basically the game showed me that I thought the Colts coaching was going to get it done, and that's how they were going to get the win. The coaching wasn't horrible. There's still a lot of flags, a lot of penalties. This Colts team's a mess. I thought the Saints were a mess as well, but obviously the Colts are way messier. Best way to put it, the Colts defense is a lot messier than the Saints offense was, and I thought it was the other way around. I thought the Saints offense was just messy enough to where they wouldn't be able to figure some stuff out, but they did. Shout out to the Saints. My Colts might be one of those seasons this year, man. It's starting to look like it, and it's really, really sad because they finally get JT back. Everything looks promising, and now we're dealing with this. We'll see, though. I don't know. It's just going to... We'll see. Colts season's still in front of us, but I'll tell you what, as a Colts fan, I'm a little bit sad. Shout out my boy Rowan. His Saints ended up beating my team. Can't even defend them. The Saints actually looked impressive that game, I'll admit. And the Colts just continue. When they turn it over, they just can't win. I think they only had 1 turnover this game, thankfully, instead of multiple, but, I mean, it's just, anytime the Colts turn the ball over, it just seems like they just can't win a game. Here's the first shocker of the week. Broncos-Chiefs, man. Shout out the Broncos. Broncos able to win 24-9. Absolutely dominant. This is probably the worst Chiefs game I've watched probably since they've gotten Patrick Mahomes and they've become the Chiefs. I was shocked. I ended up throwing a little bit on the Chiefs live. By a little bit, I mean, it was a good amount. I ended up throwing them live. I'm like, well, this is one of those spots Patrick Mahomes never lost. I understand he has an illness, but if the Chiefs lose, the Chiefs lose. Like, I was sitting there, like, there's no way I don't think the Chiefs lose, right? They've never lost to them, and hey, history happened. They ended up losing. I mean, the Broncos absolutely snap. They snap a win streak. First time since the Broncos have won since Peyton Manning was a Bronco. 2015. That was the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs. So, I mean, it's one of those things in history where I felt like maybe it was just getting hammered home way too much. Like, oh, the Broncos never beat the Chiefs. Broncos never beat the Chiefs. So I was said a lot. Patrick Mahomes was sick, like said. I mean, it was a messy game for the Chiefs. I mean, offensively, they just couldn't do anything, it felt like. And it finally feels like, I think Bill Simmons said it best. I think you're finally seeing, like, hey, Patrick Mahomes, like, as good as he is, like, he still needs weapons too, man. Because, I mean, Travis Kelce, he's doing good. Rashee Rice is starting to step up. But past those two, man, Kadarius Toney is a speed guy, but he drops the ball a little bit too much. Sky Moore, I just don't know what he is as a receiver. I don't think he's the best. Mecole Hardman, they get him traded over, and he's the one who muffs the punt. I'm not going to say he lost them the game, but that muffed punt pretty much sealed the momentum. Chiefs were going to get the ball back down 19-14. It felt like there was a chance where they could have finally got some momentum going, and they were going to do something. And then they muffed the punt. They muffed the punt, and I think that led to a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. But after they muffed the punt, yeah, that pretty much was game for the Chiefs. It was just one of those things where the Chiefs just had a bad day at the office. And I mean, this was the Broncos defense I think all of us expected to see throughout the season, but for whatever reason, they just have been disappearing. The only thing that's weird about this, excuse me, by the way, the only thing weird about this now is I don't know if they're going to be sellers, if they're going to be buyers. I don't think their season's anywhere. I don't think it's back on track, but that was because they're still 3-5, and they got a gauntlet of a schedule. I mean, they get a bye this week now, thankfully, though. But it's Bills, Vikings, Browns, Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. I mean, there's a chance they can go maybe on a little bit of a run. But pretty much that win, I think that win kind of saved them from selling a little bit. They might try out this year. They might try out the guys out just for a little bit more this year, and Sean Payton can see what he can get out of them. But for the most part, man, just shout out to the Broncos. That was a big win. Chiefs just looked awful. Chiefs will probably look to bounce back. But now they travel to Germany to take on the Dolphins at 9:30 in the morning. That's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun one to watch. But yeah, it sucks that that game has to be on 9:30 in the morning. Chiefs-Dolphins next week. Quick little Ravens-Cardinals update. Kyler Murray might be coming back. Not 100% sure yet. But the Ravens just look dominant. Gus Bus got 3 touchdowns. Basically the Cardinals. The only reason it's 31-24 is the Cardinals got a late cover to make it close. Takeaway 7. 31-17. That was about the distance of the score of the whole game. It got to the point where the Ravens just took over. They just weren't able to get that big lead. I mean, they dropped 30, which is good for an NFL. Good for an NFL team. If you drop 30, there's a good chance you're probably going to end up winning that game. As I say that, Commanders lose 31-38, but you get the point. They were able to do just enough on offense to keep them away. Lamar Jackson had a pretty decent day. 157 passing, 1 touchdown. I mean, he didn't do the most. It was basically... It's Gus Bus, 80 yards for 3 touchdowns. I mean, the defense just put the offense in a lot of good situations, and the offense was able to capitalize on a good amount of them. That's basically just the story of the game for the Ravens, so they just continue to improve. Number 1 in the AFC North. I think they have the best record in the AFC right now. They travel to take the Seahawks next week. That's going to be a fun one to watch. When it comes to... Oh, sorry, I was reading a signing about something. I thought they signed a Colts player. They signed somebody from the Texans practice squad. Jaguars-Steelers. This was kind of an ugly game. Kenny Pickett ends up going out hurt. Jaguars, though, get another big win. Etienne, he just rushed for a touchdown now 3 games in a row. He is officially on NBA Jam rules. I will be talking. Actually, you know what? I'll mention it now. For those of you who don't know, sorry, my chair just keeps. For those of you who don't know, I live by a mantra of NBA Jam rules where pretty much if a guy does something 3 times in a row, or for those of you who played NBA Jam, if you score 3 times in a row without the opponent scoring, you get the on fire, and then your players are able to do a lot of extra stuff that they aren't normally able to do. So how it works for here is pretty similar. If a guy scores 3 times in a row, we basically just throw anything out the window that gives us history, and we just solely ride that. For example, A.J. Brown, over 100-plus receiving yards, over 125. He's done it like 6 or 7 games in a row now. I've tailed him the last 2 games. I think I mentioned it last week. I might have forgot to. For sure mentioned it this week. I don't remember if it was on this show, but I remember mentioned on my boy Rowan's show, which is why I want to touch on it here. So yeah, pretty much like with ETN now, he scored a touchdown in 3 straight games. So it's NBA Jam rules. He's officially on fire. That's going to be for sure a lock bet for me next week. I've done it all season with Christian McCaffrey, I think people have seen. Like, I take Christian McCaffrey week after week after week. I haven't said anything about the NBA Jam rules yet this year, which I apologize. We just haven't had a situation for it. But yeah, shout out Travis Etienne. He's going to be one of those guys. They just absolutely dominate the Steelers. Steelers scored a late touchdown in the 3rd quarter. That was basically their only touchdown. It was a really rainy day. I mean, basically Jacksonville came in and out-Steelered the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I mean, it was insane. They came in. It felt like every time I saw the game, it looked like the Steelers were just getting dominated pretty much. Like, it was just the Jags had the ball. They were moving it. I mean, they scored a lot of field goals, which is understandable because of the weather and everything. But, I mean, it was utter domination from the Steelers. And then Travis Etienne's touchdown, it was a deep one to the right. That was amazing to see because as soon as Travis Etienne scored, I had a 4-legger. It was not a nasty boy, so I apologize. A 4-legger I took pretty much like 12:30. I was just watching Cynthia Freeland, and listened to her talk about some players. I'm like, you know what? I like a few of these players. Threw them in a parlay. 10 to win, 329. That was sexy. We love that. Shout out to Travis Etienne. One of them 4 legs in there. We'll talk about a few of those other guys later. Sorry, my chair is all types of messed up right now. It keeps just falling and sinking. I need a new chair. We talk about this every episode. I need a new chair. But yeah, shout out to the Jags, man. They win 20-10. Not much to talk about with the Steelers. They end up just losing a game. And the real issue is we're going to see what happens with Kenny Pickett. Sounds like he hurt his ribs, but I don't know for sure how long he's going to be out or anything. Because the longer he's out, probably the worse for the Steelers. Moving on to the next game. Jets-Giants, baby. This is the ugliest game of the year. Not much to talk about. This is another rain game where, not much happened at all. Breece Hall ends up having a 50-yard touchdown. Shout out Breece Hall, another part of that 4-legger. The Giants just end up doing nothing. They score a field goal early. The Jets score a touchdown early, and then the Jets decide not to score the whole rest of the game for a while. A third down, Tommy DeVito comes in for Tyrod Taylor, who got hurt again. I think he went to the hospital. I'll double-check the news right before we get out of here to see if he's okay. I believe he's okay. Nothing's bad. But I just want to make sure. I don't know what the diagnosis was. It was just a rib injury, I believe. But yeah, basically, so then when it came down to, I believe it 24 seconds left or so, Jets get the ball back. They have 24 seconds to get down the field. Boom, deep strike from Zach Wilson. I believe they have another strike from Zach Wilson. End up running the ball. Here, I can read you the drives real quick. Yeah, I won't lie. It was this fourth quarter. It was awesome, honestly. 13-yard. Where is this at? Oh, sorry, wrong drive. Here we go, sorry. This is the one. Zach Wilson throws the ball to Garrett Wilson, 30-yard gain. Another ball to Allen Lazard, 29-yard game. Spiked the ball, field goal. This was 24 seconds left. It's boom. Zach throws a strike to Garrett Wilson. And then there was also a defensive offsides. They declined that. Boom. Zach Wilson hits Allen Lazard. They're able to spike it with 1 second left. Greg the leg, my boy, kicks a field goal to send them to overtime. Second they hit overtime, you know what happened. You basically know what's going to happen. Then Giants get the ball. Giants get smothered. Jets get the ball in really good field position. Drive down to kick the game-winning field goal. This Jets team is feisty, man. I won't lie to you. I'm going to be tempted to put... We're going to have to check their odds real quick and make sure they aren't super juiced. But I'm going to be tempted to put a little Super Bowl wager on these boys. Because I won't lie, seeing those videos from Aaron Rodgers, I'm not going to fall into it just yet saying, oh, he's a for sure lock to come back and play. But that boy looking good. And if he's able to come back and play the way this team is playing, man, hey now. So yeah, shout out to the Jets, man. That was a really awesome game by the Jets. Texans-Panthers, battle of the number 1, number 2 overall pick. I apologize for picking the Texans this one. I didn't realize, I guess, how bad the Panthers really needed this win. Looking at the situation, that's where I'm a little bit frustrated about. Like, Panthers, if you really think about it, they had the number 1 overall pick. Been a horrible year so far this season. It's Frank Reich versus D'Amico Ryans, battle of first-year coaches. Kitchen sink game pretty much for the Panthers because they need to prove, like, hey, we picked the right guy. We're going in the right direction. We'll get this figured out. The biggest issue with the Texans, they just need to finish drives. I felt like I saw them in the red zone 3 or 4 times. They weren't able to score on them. Due to that, it comes down to Eddie Pinheiro kicking a game-winning field goal for the Panthers. They get the first win of the season. It was jubilee in the locker room. Then next week, they're going to take on my Colts. Hopefully, we can get some revenge. That's a revenge game for the Colts and also a revenge game for Frank Reich. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, we already talked about it last week. Next week. We're talking about this week. Shout out the Panthers, man. They finally get the first win of the season. I'm a big man. I'll admit it. I trashed them. I said a lot of big trash. Like, hey, I don't know if they're going to win a game this year. I'll pick against them every week until they win a game. Hey, congrats to the Panthers, man. Seriously, that was a very, very impressive win. I thought their defense was able to hold up, and I thought that was the biggest thing. If they didn't let the Texans score when they got in the red zone a good amount, and that's basically what won them the game. So shout out the Texans, man. Sorry, not the Texans. Shout out the Panthers, man. Getting their first win of the season. Big win. I don't know what that means for Frank Reich in his job, but that's just a big win for them, and it comes on the first week of a new offensive coordinator. This is I forget what the offensive coordinator's name is, but it's his first game. Shout out getting a win in your first game. We can crack this one quick. Dolphins-Patriots. Patriots took an early lead. Then the Dolphins answered back with 2 touchdowns, and it was pretty much over from there. Shout out Raheem Mostert, another boy in the parlay. That's the 3. Basically, since I mentioned 3 guys, there's Raheem Mostert, Travis Etienne, A.J. Brown, I forget the third. I forgot that fourth guy already. Breece Hall. I don't think it was Breece Hall. You know what? I'm just gonna read it to you. Yeah, real quick before I get back to that game though. But yeah, I tell you what, that 4-leg felt nice, baby. It was Travis Etienne, A.J. Brown, Jordan Addison. That's who it was. Jordan Addison, Raheem Mostert. Plus 21.28 boosted to 31.91 with a 50% boost. I tell you what, man, that muy nice. But yeah, basically back to Dolphins-Patriots. The Dolphins pretty much just blew them out. That's what it came down to. They went up big. And it was 24-10 for the longest of longest times. And then finally, the Patriots score late touchdown towards the end. I just don't know what they're going to do with Mac Jones, pretty much. I don't know if he's going to be the guy this year. It's just weird because if the Patriots don't win last week and then they lose this week as well, I think their season completely has a whole different outlook. Because they beat the Bills last week, I think they gave a lot of Patriots fans hope. So coming in this week, having another week of heartbreak, that's just sucks. I mean, they were playing a really good team. This Dolphins team is just completely different. They're really good now. And I mentioned on my show, the Patriots always lose in Miami. Even in the Tom Brady years, they were losing in Miami a good amount. There's just something about going down to Miami and leaving the Boston area just does something to the Patriots. But yeah, I mean, that game was 24-10 for the longest time. The Patriots had the lead very early on. That was probably the closest they got to winning the game. Next game, Falcons-Titans. Time-wise, we're doing all right. Falcons-Titans. Biggest news about this game, Will Levis, man. I mentioned it on my show. I solely took the Falcons because I was fading mainly just fading Will Levis. But I guess I should have thought about Vrabes at home. But hey, man, that guy Levis might be a guy, bro. He might be a guy. It's obviously way too early. I don't want to do what we did with Tyson Bagent. My boy T-Bag, because yeah, that boy T-Bag did not have a good night on Sunday night. We'll talk about that game last. Yeah, I mean, he didn't have the worst game Sunday night, but yeah. No. But yeah, for our boy Will Levis, man. Will Levis had an amazing game. He had finished with, I think, like 260 and 4 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. 238 and 4 touchdowns, 130 passer rating. I mean, I don't know if he's going to hit a deep ball every single game like that, but he hit 4 beautiful deep balls. And I mean, I tell you what, I think, not Will Levis, sorry. Excuse me, Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis should take notes. When you throw the ball to D-Hop, good things happen. I mean, I think Will Levis' biggest win of the day was just throwing the ball to D-Hop. I mean, he saw D-Hop in double coverage and said, F it, I'm just going to let it loose. Throws the ball. I mean, D-Hop's going to come down with it. He's still pretty good. I mean, he said the good old quote, they wrote me off like Gino. I mean, hey, Henry was able to get 100 yards rushing because they were able to lighten up the box. I mean, I think Will Levis actually being able to throw it deep is going to help out this Titans team so much, especially if he's able to prove that he can continue to do it. Because the issue with Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill basically just gave up throwing it deep, it felt like. So they were stacking the box, so Derrick Henry couldn't run. Will Levis could bring a whole new life to the Titans, so I'm very excited to see how that goes. Shout out Will Levis, man. Seriously, Will Levis balled out yesterday. That was awesome to watch, even though I bet against him, I guess 2 days ago. And Taylor Heineke comes in to replace Ritter, who apparently was in the concussion protocol. They still say Desmond Ritter's the guy, but I mean, I won't lie. Heineke came in, and for a while, this Titans game felt like it was out of reach. It was 21 to it was 14 to 3 at half. I believe it was 21 to like 6 or 9 at some point. And by the time Taylor Heineke comes in, leads them down the field goal. Then he leads them down to 2 touchdowns. I mean, they had a chance of running this game back. They had a receiver drop a ball, a huge drop on 4th down that pretty much sealed their chances of coming back. But I'm going to be very intrigued to see. I think Arthur Smith already kind of came out and said he's going to keep. I think he's going to keep Ritter starting. That's what I was trying to read real quick. I don't know 100% though, but it sounds like Ritter's probably going to continue to start. But I will not be shocked if we start seeing Taylor Heineke more and more. Because, yeah, he didn't look horrible that game. And Ritter continued to have issues. I think he fumbled another ball. I mean, Ritter's a really athletic guy. I mean, he can scoot. You can see when he runs. He's really good for the run scheme. He just needs to protect the ball better. That's his biggest issue is protecting the ball. Protecting the ball, protecting the ball, protecting the ball. Because that ball is the program, and you can't turn it over. Vikings win 24-10, big win. Not too much to talk about either in this game. I mean, the Packers just look horrendous. I mean, I don't know what to expect from them anymore. There's 2 big things to talk about. I think a lot of you know the main one, so I'll stick to the game notes, and I'll talk on the Kirk Cousins injury after. Yeah, Vikings moved to 4-4. I mean, they've won 3 in a row now. Their season looked like it was going to get back on track. Versus the Packers are now 2-5. I mean, if they don't have that miraculous Saints comeback, I mean, they are 1-5. That's what's crazy. That one Saints comeback is basically what I hinged my whole season on when it comes to viewing the Packers. Like, oh, so they do kind of got it in them, you think. Now it doesn't seem like it. They aren't using Aaron Jones. It's all Gutekunst guys in the building for the Packers, and I think the Packers are starting to really. I know he got hurt this year, and who knows if he gets hurt in Green Bay. But I bet the Packers are kind of a little bit sad now. They're like, man, we kind of got rid of Aaron Rodgers a little quick, huh? 2-5 is not a good start to their season, but yes, I'll touch on it. Kirk Cousins torn Achilles, out for the season. Man, you hate to see it. All these Vikings fans were really pissed. Like, oh, I can't wait to get rid of Kirk Cousins. Can't wait to get rid of Kirk Cousins. Move on. And then he moves on. Now it's like, oh, Kirk was finally winning. We were doing so good. It's just crazy how the NFL's a week-to-week league. You win, you lose 2 weeks in a row. Everyone wants you gone. You win 3 weeks in a row. Everyone loves you. And now he's hurt. He's gone. It just sucks. Kirk Cousins, I think, was the biggest winner from the quarterback series. The biggest winner from the offseason. Everybody was loving him. Everybody wanted some Kirko action. And it just sucks now that he's hurt. He was in some trade rumors, but who knows now? I think he's in the last year of his contract. I don't think he's going to come back and be a Viking. So I don't know what that means for their season. I don't know what it means for Kirk Cousins. But that's the biggest storylines from these games is Kirk Cousins and whoever you call it. Kirk Cousins being hurt and the Packers just kind of sucking. So now that we're here, hot seat coach of the week. Matt LaFleur, man. I think it's just going to be him solo. Maybe with Ron Rivera as well. We'll talk about Ron Rivera in a minute, but yeah, Matt LaFleur is starting to get exposed a little bit. It's crazy how, because the old adage is, let's see how good you are without your Hall of Fame quarterback when it comes to your record. With Bill Belichick, I mean, we're seeing it. I'm not going to take anything away from Bill Belichick, though. But you see how he is. He's kind of struggling a little bit. Matt LaFleur, ever since Aaron Rodgers left, that ain't good, boy. It has been really, really shaky. I haven't looked at his record since Aaron Rodgers left, but in his games without Aaron Rodgers, if you look up that records, I don't remember what the number is exactly off the top of my head. I did hear it. I don't think it's good. Eagles-Commanders will go to this game. Like I said, shout out A.J. Brown. His 6th straight game with 125 receiving yards, breaking the NFL record that was previously held by Calvin Johnson. Shout out. Got that Calvin Johnson jersey hanging over there. Eagles won 38-31. It felt like the Commanders had a chance to steal this game late. Man, it just feels like the Commanders-Eagles always play these insane games. A.J. Brown, man, had an insane game. 2 amazing catches, 130 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts played a really good game as he was hurt as well. There was apparently a ball. I didn't see this play, I'll admit. There was 9 games going on at 1 o'clock. So in the mix of losing this game to the sauce, there's apparently a play where Devontae Smith dropped the ball. But then was able, like a big play happened, but Devontae Smith dropped it. And apparently Ron Rivera came out and he was just talking. He's like, I was trying to look on the sideline to see it. We didn't see it there. I was asking guys in the booth and they didn't see it apparently. So basically he just came out straight up and said, yeah, we didn't see that he dropped it or I would have challenged it. And I just don't know. They said it perfectly best on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. I thought Ty Schmidt said this amazingly. I don't know if Ron Rivera thinks he's going to coach for 15 to 20 years and that's his team and he retires when he's done. Or it's his last year in there and he knows it, so he's just being completely as honest as he can be. I don't know which one of those he thinks it is, but, man, I don't know if he's going to be the coach next year. That's just the biggest thing. I would not be shocked if we see Eric Bieniemy elevated to the head coach. But I don't know. This Commanders team is really weird. Just really weird. It feels like they have a lot of promise. I mean, I don't think Sam Howell even got sacked in that one game. 397 yards, 4 touchdowns. He played pretty well. Yeah, it was just a good win by the Eagles. Julio Jones scores his first Eagles touchdown, I believe. Yeah, I don't really know. It felt like the Commanders had a chance to win this game, and they kind of just didn't. Riverboat Ron feels like it was years ago. It feels like that boat is, that riverboat has not been checked out in a minute. I think his name is just Ron at this point. Yeah, the riverboat probably has the cobwebs on it, dusted up, sitting on the lake, has a hole in it, maybe it's even sunk in the lake. I think we might be past the time of Riverboat Ron. Browns, Seahawks, this was a really, really good and competitive game. The Browns pretty much had this game won late. Then they throw an interception that basically bounces off of a helmet of a defender. Kevin Stefanski, man, he might be another hot seat coach as well. So we might have a 3-way tie between LaFleur, Stefanski, and Ron Rivera. Kevin Stefanski just makes some of the dumbest boneheaded decisions ever. The the fact that they were throwing the ball when all they have to do is run it out, and they probably run out the time, and they could have a chance to win. Instead, he decides to throw, get a little bit aggressive and cute. It bounces off the helmet, gets picked off, and the Seahawks end up winning. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Man, it just feels like this sucks for the Browns, man. They had a chance for a truly special season. This whole Deshaun Watson thing's happening. Nick Chubb's on IR. I mean, if you watch their defense, man, their defense has been balling out. Their defense got a little bit this week, I'll admit. But, I mean, they were able to read Geno. I mean, Geno threw 2 picks. So, I mean, the defense got a little bit, but the defense also got theirs. I mean, there was one play. This corner just absolutely killed Geno on an out route. Like, it looked like Geno did his drop back, tries to throw it to DK, and the corner just makes a beautiful undercut. I mean, it was just one of those games where, I mean, it was beautiful from both sides, and it basically killed the Browns not having a quarterback. Because as much as P.J. Walker's not bad, but he's not going to be a guy that can win you every single game. Especially, I mean, like I said, the coaching just made a boneheaded decision trying to throw a ball when they probably shouldn't have. It ends up in an interception. It's just the Browns. Seems like the Browns will be the Browns. Seahawks are now first in the NFC West, control their own division. They got a huge trade. They traded for Leonard Williams to add some pass rush in. I mean, this Seahawks team, they might be going now. Another surprising one, Bengals absolutely beat up the 49ers. Beat them up, bruise them up, get them bloodied up. I mean, 31-17 is just a beat down. Brock Purdy had a lot of rushing yards. I think he almost led the team in rushing. He had like 30 or 40 rushing yards, it felt like. He was scrambling a lot. Christian McCaffrey scores another touchdown. Ty Lenny. Brock Purdy finished with 57 rushing yards. He had more rushing yards than Christian McCaffrey. If that tells you anything about how the Bengals defense played. Brock Purdy had 2 interceptions again, though. It's one of those things. I mean, he had a lot of interceptions dropped last year. It feels like some of them are just getting caught this year. And I'm not going to say Brock Purdy's horrible. I just don't know. I don't know if he's the world beater we all thought he was. I still think he's a good quarterback. Maybe he's not. We had him up in the upper echelon. He was like up here. Maybe we just need to bring him down a peg. Maybe he's still a really good quarterback. He's just not the elite. We'll have to see. I mean, there's still a long season left. They're just having a little bit of lull in the middle. If Brock Purdy can get back to himself and have 2 amazing weeks, in 2 weeks we'll be talking about, oh, he just had a hiccup. He's back to who he is. But I mean, the concussion clearly had him foggy last week. This week, I mean, I don't know what it was. Mixon, 87 yards and a touchdown. He went off. Jamar Chase had 10 receptions, 100 yards and a touchdown. George Kittle also had 149 receiving yards on 9 receptions. I mean, it was a really good game by the Browns. They were able to impose their will and do what they needed to do. And it was just a big win by the Bengals. Excuse me, not the Browns. Big win by the Bengals was 49ers. And then the last game of Sunday, we'll go over this one quickly. Chargers absolutely destroyed the Bears 30-13. Seems like the Cinderella hour for Tyson Bagent. Kind of got basically carriage turned a little bit into a pumpkin. We'll just say that. I mean, he didn't play the worst. 232 yards. He had 2 interceptions that were kind of bad. I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like the book was out on him, so now the defense has had a chance. Big spot in Sunday Night Football. He is starting next week against the Saints, so he has a chance to bounce back, obviously. But yeah, that definitely felt like a moment where it's like, okay, now you can kind of see why he was a D2 kid. I mean, he had a few bad plays here and there. The Chargers just look like, I mean, Herbert finished with 298 and 3 touchdowns, which is good for our future. We needed some touchdowns. We need this guy to throw touchdowns. He's not throwing many touchdowns at all this year. For those of you curious, real quick, while we're talking about it, he has 13 touchdowns. I believe we bet him to have over 40, so that might be in trouble. But no, big win by the Chargers, much needed win by the Chargers. They just win big, not much to talk about. I just in general, because yeah, I mean, it was just one of those games where the Chargers, Eckler scores, Donald Parham scores. I'm missing a third guy who scored. It was Eckler. Let me make sure I get this guy's name right. Simi Fehoko. He was another guy who scored as well, and then Donald Parham. I mean, it was just a good game by the Chargers. They were able to get a big win. A much-needed win for their team as well moving into next week because, yeah, they were having a rough start to the season. So I mean, now that the Broncos beating the Chiefs is a huge one too now because now the Chargers can steal a game from the Chiefs. All of a sudden, that division race starts to get a little bit more interesting all of a sudden. Because, yeah, I don't think the Raiders are going to be in it, but the Chargers can win against the Chiefs. Because the Broncos did it. The Broncos can do what the Chargers can definitely do. If they're able to win that game against the Chiefs, that might open some questions about stealing the division from them. But yeah, well, basically, we're going to go over some NFL news real quick. Lions, Dan Campbell said Jameer gives Monty. He said his game last night was just the tip of the iceberg. I'm very excited to see how they use him for it. I know they're going to get Monty back. So I just hope that Monty will be back. Obviously, I'm very curious to see how they now play that with Montgomery and Gibbs. But that's gonna be a fun little give and take. But yeah, basically, I'm very excited to see how that goes forward with Gibbs. And I mean, Gibbs just was special last night, man. Seeing some of the runs he made, some of the action. I mean, it's just like, okay, this guy's gonna be. He has a chance to be a good one. Davante Adams, like I said, he was very frustrated after his one catch. He came out and said, "I don't know what to say at this moment. I truly don't. I wish I had the words to say something. That's not going to get blown up in the media and taken out of context, so I truly don't know." Basically, yeah, I think he wants to say Jimmy G is a big old... Ooh. I know he wants to. There's some stuff that he probably wants to say. The Bears... Oh, my... Wow. This is shocking. This is actually a really big one. The Bears are granting Jalen Johnson permission to seek a trade. This is a huge loss for the Bears if they do that. He's one of their... They talked about it on Sunday night. He's one of their best corners. He's scheduled to be a free agent at the end of the season, but he's been one of the few bright spots for the Bears since he's been there. I mean, this basically, yeah, the Bears do that. That means they're in full sell rebuild mode. Because, I mean, he was supposed to be one of the bright stars of their future, hopefully. Yeah, I feel happy for him that he gets a chance to move out maybe and play with the team that really could use him. But, man, that's going to be a huge loss to the Bears if they get rid of him, regardless of who they get back. I mean, unless they draft a corner and he ends up becoming the next, like, Darrell Reeves or somebody really good. I mean, like, obviously I'm not saying that Jalen Johnson guy is this good, but Jalen Johnson's really good. That's going to be a huge loss to just get some draft capital back for. Like I said, the Giants got Leonard Williams for a second-round pick from 2024 to 2025, I think, fifth rounder, sorry. So a second and fifth rounder. That's going to be a huge add for the Seahawks. The only thing is he's in a contract year, so I'll be curious to see if he gets paid by the Seahawks. Suffered day-to-day with the UCL sprain. I mean, if you saw Davante Adams slam his helmet last night, to go back to Davante Adams, he had a rough night. So I'm confused. I don't get why they aren't starting Josh Dobbs. I think it's because they've seen enough of Josh Dobbs, and it makes sense they want to see how Clayton Tune does. Because it sounds like Kyler Murray's going to be coming back in Week 10, most likely. If that's the case, that would be very interesting to watch and see. But, yeah, it sounds like they're starting Clayton Tune next week just to maybe see what they got from him. Badger's making his third career start. Obviously, I talked about that. Talked about Leonard Fournette signing to the practice squad for the Bills. I don't think if I mentioned his practice squad, because I don't think I even noticed that. I thought he just signed to the team. But yeah, practice squad probably going to get called up at some point. Kenny Pickett's going to be a game time decision tonight for Thursday Night Football. That's going to be a hard pick, man. Tennessee Titans versus Steelers. Man, that's going to be... You want to bet no touchdown score, that might be the game. Kendrick Bourne is done for the season with the Patriots with the torn ACL. Horrible loss for them. He's been very promising. That's a really bad loss. Oh, man, the Falcons are losing Grady Jarrett with the torn ACL. I didn't even see that. Man, I didn't realize he got hurt. That's a huge loss for them. That is an absolutely huge loss. Grady Jarrett's one of the best defensive linemen in the game right now. Man, I mean, that's a huge piece to lose. That is absolutely... He's one of the best defensive linemen in the game, like I said. A huge piece to lose. Rashawn Gary signed a 4-year, $107 million extension with the Packers. Congrats to him. $34.6 million signing bonus. $10 million a year. That's not bad at all. So, hey, the league needs pass rushers, man. We'll keep going through some of this news. I'm trying to scroll and see if there's anything big I missed. Deontay Johnson came out and blasted the refs, so I'm curious to see how the fines will look in that game. I think Tyreek Hill said he's light years ahead of where he was with the Chiefs, which, if he is, he might be right about that. I don't think he was wrong. I mean, he's with the Miami Dolphins, man. He has been insane. He's on pace for 2,000 yards right now. I think Patrick Williams might be on the injury report again, by the way, for this week. But if that's the case, it's probably from illness. By the way, no more news about the Tyrod Taylor thing that I've seen. Sounds like he's hospitalized, but I believe he was released. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming because there's nothing else that's like big about him being in the hospital. He got released and he's okay. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Apparently the NFL won't be a likely harbor. Oh man, we're going long again. Shit. Yeah. So by the way. I guess, yeah, apparently the NFL likely won't be a safe harbor for Harbaugh from all this NCAA stuff. I don't know if I'll touch on that today because we went really, really long. The Titans apparently won't trade Derrick Henry. Giants are eyeing a Week 10 for Daniel Jones' return. Jalen Ramsey looked good in his return, by the way. Jalen Ramsey was back and he looked really good. And that's probably where I end the news there. But yeah, basically, Big week in the NFL. A lot of craziness. Sorry, I got sidetracked for a second. I got asked for a trade in my fantasy league, so I ended up getting a little sidetracked, I won't lie. We'll burn through college real quick. There's basically for college, I just want to quickly for some trade deadlines. Contavious Street went to the Falcons. That's not as big. Van Jefferson to Falcons. Yep. Okay, nothing too big. We haven't missed any too big trades yet. The trade deadline is today, though, so I might come in here on Thursday and be able to talk a little bit more about some big trades that happened. But for now, I think I've read basically all that's happened. But yes, now we're going to go to the new standings for the top 25. Georgia is 1, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Florida State 4, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Penn State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, LSU, Missouri, Louisville, Oregon State, Air Force, Utah, Tennessee, UCLA, Tulane, Kansas, James Madison, USC. Finds a way to stay in at 24, and Kansas State at 25. That's your top 25. If you wanted me to just read it through again, you can just scroll back 10, 15 seconds. I basically read it in order from 1 to 25. Scores-wise from last week, see if there's anything major. Jack State won again in coverage. Shout out the boys. Georgia State ended up losing. I'm glad. I don't think I ended up taking them. I said be careful with them. I wish I took FAU. FAU won big. Purdue, Nebraska, under didn't hit. Purdue loses again. Purdue sucks. Notre Dame ends up blowing out Penn State huge. Pittsburgh ends up blowing Pittsburgh huge. Excuse me. Pitt. They blew out Pitt. Oklahoma, Kansas was definitely the game of the day. Kansas wins for the first time since 1997 against Oklahoma. First time. And I think they had a big losing streak since 2008 against top 25 teams. There's something they haven't, or top 10, they haven't beat a top 10 team, I think, since 2008, something like that at home. There's something crazy about Oklahoma and Kansas. That was an amazing game to watch. Kansas ends up coming back to stun them. Indiana had you'll see 33-24 in the Indiana game. If Indiana doesn't play for that field goal and they actually play aggressive, they have a chance to potentially win the game. I think that's a big issue with coaching nowadays in the college ranks. There's a lot of coaches who play sometimes for the spread to keep it close rather than playing for the win. And I get it because you don't want to lose your job potentially, so you don't want to be too aggressive. But I think there's some aggressiveness that some coaches should have more. For example, Indiana's coming in at 31-point dogs. Why are you kicking the field goal to tie? Go for the touchdown to win. You aren't supposed to be there. Situations like that. Florida State absolutely blows out Wake Forest as well. Kansas State blows out Houston. Texas A&M beats South Carolina pretty bad. Maryland shocking loss to Northwestern. That might ruin Maryland's season. They're for sure a bowl team now only. They probably were before to begin with, but that's not for sure. Clemson loses to NC State. That's a huge loss. Shout out to NC State's coach for starting Steve Smith. We ain't a basketball school. We're a football school too. So kiss my ass. Shout out NC State, man. Big win. Memphis wins a big shootout against North Texas, 45-42. Auburn, big win by them against Mississippi State. Baylor loses at home. Homecoming to Iowa State. Baylor's season's just completely falling apart at this point. Same with Michigan State, who loses to Minnesota. Duke gets shut out 23-0 to Louisville. Worst game of the season. Sorry about that. My thing froze real quick. So I forget where I was at exactly. I think I was talking about Duke Louisville potentially before my camera froze. I don't know where my camera froze at, so there might be you might be missing some conversation. But yeah, Louisville just pretty much dominated the game. Riley Leonard still hurt. I think obviously playing him against Florida State, it's pretty much, I don't want to say ruined their season, but they had no reason to play him against Florida State now officially because, yeah, they look bad there. Oregon absolutely blows out Utah 35-6. This was not close at all. The whole game, not close at all. I think the injuries finally caught up to Utah. The injuries are too much. Sorry about that. Now my camera's just going to continue to freeze, so I guess I'm gonna have to burn through these way quicker than I thought. Virginia, Miami survives scare against Virginia. Miami of Ohio takes wagon status away from Ohio. Georgia blows out Florida. That game wasn't close really at all. USC survives scare against Cal, wins 50-49. Their defense has just pretty much gone away. There's a protest of the game as well. Rumors are they were protesting the defense. Tulane survives a scare against Rice 30-28. This was a criminal. They're up 27 basically to 7 at half, and then they basically just let Rice walk back in. That was a criminal backdoor. That one hurt to lose. Tennessee, big win against Kentucky. Kentucky might just be sliding at this point in the season. Washington State won against Stanford, semi-biggest win. Air Force was able to cover again against Colorado State. We love to see it. Ohio State wins by 14 against Wisconsin. UCLA gets covered by Colorado, but UCLA still wins. They looked impressive. It took Colorado a backdoor, like 7-minute drive to end up backdooring it. But I mean, it was a dominant. If they redid this line, it'd be probably about 20 something. Ole Miss absolutely blows out Vanderbilt. I don't think we'll see real quick. Yeah, sorry people, we're gonna have to. Oregon State ends up losing to Arizona. That's a sad one. Oklahoma State covers. North Carolina loses to Georgia Tech. That's a huge loss, and that's probably about to do for the week. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to save. We're gonna have to save college. I was gonna talk briefly about college basketball. We're gonna have to an NBA. We're gonna have to save basketball for Thursday. I mean, this camera is basically it's frozen 3 times in a minute. I'm assuming that just means I'm running too long now, so my camera can't handle it. So quickly, there's 2 games tonight. I kind of lean Northern Illinois and Buffalo spread, but I'm going to probably stay away from these games tonight, little junkie. Rangers are up 2-1 in their series in the MLB. Shout out to them. They can take a commanding 3-1 tonight if they're able to. But yeah, that's probably going to do it for today. We'll talk a little bit. College basketball is really close to upcoming. I'm going to try to have my boy on to talk a little bit of futures, but we'll see how that. We'll just see. I'm going to have to find some time to make it. We should be able to, but I don't know when that will be. I'll have him on soon, though. But just know my boy Rowan's going to be on the show a good amount during college basketball season to give us insight because, hey, we need to have the expert on. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for all the support. I'm going to end it there just because, yeah, I'm having camera issues, so I'm just going to end it before I have a seizure trying to deal with it. It's frustrating, I won't lie, because I'm in the middle of talking, looking up stuff, and then I look up and I'm sitting like that frozen, and you just see my mouth moving. So hopefully I'll be able to figure out the issue so we don't have it for Thursday. But yeah, Thursday will pretty much your Thursday will be the normal Thursday. Pickem, NFL bets, college bets. I'll talk a little bit of basketball at the end potentially, and then just potentially talk about a little bit of my futures in as well. I was going to touch on them this episode with the camera freezing not happening, so we'll either talk about the futures this week or next week. I don't know yet. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support. Long one today. I'll see everybody back in this feed on Thursday.